what I want to do um, is talk about internationalism and bringing forward another way for humanity in today's world, and what this campaign has to do with that. We've heard now from a number of speakers about the situation in Iran, what's happening in Iran, and we'll be learning more. We've heard about dissent and rebellion that has been growing, the struggle of women against the hijab and all of the enslaving conditions that are imposed on them by this hateful regime, strikes and protests against economic hardship, uprisings by ethnic and religious minorities against their oppression, artists and intellectuals who are demanding the right to express themselves and to freely think, and environmentalists who have been protesting the abuses of the ecosystems in Iran. There has been this upsurge over the last few years, and a revolutionary current has grown and gained influence within this. These are just and righteous battles, a just and righteous cause. The regime has struck back hard, killing hundreds, arresting and torturing thousands. You've heard about this from Kaveh, from Mariam. That repression is unjust and illegitimate. This regime is unjust and illegitimate. Those who stand against this repression, those who are fighting the oppression in this society, they must be supported. And it is on us to make common cause with the people of Iran, those who are in the streets, those who are in the prisons, those whose lives, as we say in the emergency appeal, literally hang in the balance. Now, Larry talked about the history of US imperialist domination over Iran. And imperialism is a worldwide system of exploitation, plunder, and oppression, with its global supply chains of sweatshops and child labor. You know, they just announced the new Apple came out, right? There is no Apple without child labor in the mines of the Congo. There is no Apple without those sweatshops in China where people are being literally worked to death. This is a system, as I said, of worldwide exploitation and oppression, and it's enforced by a genocidal military machine. You know, as we speak, you know, naval warships from the US are patrolling the Persian Gulf. The US has over 750 military bases in over 80 countries in the world. And they just suffered a humiliating defeat in Afghanistan, but look at the death and destruction that was wrought to that country. This is the system that confronts the people of Iran, that confronts the people of the world. And I am a follower of Baba Avakian. Baba Avakian is the architect of a whole new framework for human emancipation, the new communism. And as a follower of Baba Avakian, I'm an internationalist. This bookstore is inspired by, its beating heart is the work and leadership of Baba Avakian. And here at this bookstore, the whole world comes first. The movement for revolution that we are building is one in which we are training people to understand that American lives are not more important than other people's lives. Internationalism, the whole world, comes first. And the battle to free Iran's political prisoners is a battle to be taken up by all who yearn for a better world. We have to cross boundaries. We have to draw closer. We have to learn from the heroism of our Iranian brothers and sisters. And wherever people stand up against oppression, we have to stand with them. And this is especially important here in the belly of the beast, here in the belly of the world's greatest oppressor of humanity. We have to awaken people in this society to their responsibility, to their international responsibility, to all who resist oppression. And this battle to free these political prisoners is bound up with the struggle to emancipate humanity, all of humanity. You see, we face a particular situation in the world today. We have a situation in which there are two retrograde, reactionary, outmoded forces that are contending and clashing with each other. On the one hand, there is imperialism, US imperialism in particular, that dominates the world, that brings all this suffering and exploitation that I have spoken about. On the other hand, there is reactionary, retrograde, woman-hating, religious fanaticism. This Islamic fundamentalism is what rules in Iran. And these two forces are clashing and contending with each other. And Larry, I'm wondering if you could give me my folder. Bring it up. I want to read from what Bob Avakian has said about this clash. He is saying, and this is a very powerful and incisive analysis that he's developed over the decades. He says, what we see in contention here with jihad on the one hand, that is this theocratic fundamentalism. What we see with this jihad on the one hand and world crusade, that's Western imperialism, US imperialism in particular, on the other, are historically outmoded strata among colonized and oppressed humanity up against historically outmoded ruling strata of the imperialist system. These two reactionary poles reinforce each other, even while opposing each other. If you side with one of these outmodeds, you end up strengthening both. While this is a very important formulation and is crucial to understanding much of the dynamics driving things in the world in this period, at the same time, we do have to be clear about which of these historically outmodeds has done the greater damage and poses the greatest threat to humanity. It is the historically outmoded ruling strata of the imperialist system, and in particular, the US imperialists. So the point is that you have these two forces that are outmoded, and that means that they are fighting to defend and to perpetuate ways of organizing society that should long since have passed their expiration date. Cruel, exploitative, destructive of the environment. There has to be another way. And there is another way. Bob Avakian has brought forward the new communism. And this is the method and approach, the vision and the framework to make a revolution, to free humanity from all exploitation and oppression, to create a society and world in which human beings could truly flourish, and we can protect the environment for current and future generations. And it is an inspiring fact that in Iran, there is a force, the Communist Party of Iran, Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, which is taking up and applying this new communism under extremely repressive conditions. And it is inspiring that there is now a force that is emerging in Afghanistan, having studied the new communism, having been inspired by the example of the Communist Party of Iran, Marxist, Leninist, Maoist, that has now declared itself to be fighting for this new communism in Afghanistan. And this is called the Movement for the New Communism in Afghanistan. And you can go to the back of the room and get these materials to understand, the emergence of this force for all the way revolution, for all the way emancipation, in this part of the world. And this too is truly inspiring. I spoke of bringing forward another way. Well, the RevComs in the US are organizing a movement for revolution to bring forward the way of communist revolution, the total and complete emancipation of humanity right here in the belly of the beast at a time when the conditions are ripening for revolution in a way that's not normally the case in the imperialist countries. This is a rare time. And I would encourage people, I believe everyone received a copy when they came in, to take a look at a declaration and call to get organized now for a real revolution. So I want to bring together some of these points. The struggle to free Iran's political prisoners, the struggle to free those prisoners and to oppose this brutal regime on the one hand, and US imperialist threats on the other. This is a crucial battlefront right now for all who stand for justice. And this struggle, it opens up new vistas so that people will not be trapped by one or the other of these two outmodeds, imperialism or this theocratic, reactionary, fanatical fundamentalisms. So it opens up new vistas because people are taking this up in the spirit of opposing both this regime and imperialism. And at the same time, this battle taking place at this time in the world can powerfully contribute to opening up more favorable conditions to make the revolution that humanity needs to put an end to all forms of exploitation and oppression, so that these two outmodeds will be put in the dustbin of history where they belong. The revolution to emancipate all of humanity in Iran and around the world. This is what is being built, and this is what must be fought for. And this is a battle, the battle to free these political prisoners in Iran, that stands as a call for all who stand for justice to come forward to support. And at the same time, is a battle that can and must be linked to the battle for a whole new world for all of humanity. And that's what we, as the revolutionaries involved in this campaign, are doing. And this is a campaign of enormous breadth, of enormous reach, but we have to take it further. We have to sound the cry and sing the song to free all of Iran's political prisoners. They are truly heroes for our time. Thank you.